folks. Welcome to Intelligent Automation Simplified. So, Intelligent Automation Simplified is a podcast series by RPA Jargon Buster, and we showcase industry experts to talk about intelligent automation and its impact on small and medium enterprises. And we talk about different trends and how it impacts, different verticals as well as, insurance, healthcare, and other related fields. So, I'm your host, Tolani Jaiye-Tikolo. And on today's episode, I have a very interesting person. I have Eric Wynn here with us today. And Eric will be talking about so many things with us. But just before we drive onto we crack on with that, Eric is an industry practitioner within the RPA and intelligent automation space. So he will be leveraging a lot of his experience and he will be talking from experience, which is why we do this podcast in the first place. So our topic for today is automation for small and medium businesses post-COVID recovery. So Eric, welcome to IA Simplified, and let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Tolani. Warm welcome from Australia. Hello. Thank you for having me today. It is a pleasure. So about me, I've been in automation since 2018, like 2017, 2018. This is really still, I call myself new in the industry. I work for organization and it is a privilege to basically start with organization address business issue and make use of not just automation as a tool, but a way of thinking to really address the pain point and drive the outcome in a timely manner. Because as you mentioned earlier, post-COVID recovery, I think the real question is, can you do it now? Because time is luxury post-COVID recovery, and I'm sure later on we will unpick that topic more in the more details around automation, how you're gonna help business to turn things around. My background was in IT. I work in I spent my 15 years in Telstra telecom company from Australia in the customer service space. So with the background in IT, but then I basically bring myself into a different world where it is 24/7. You don't have the work stop. The work doesn't stop. The world keep moving. And so I moved around a couple of things, like say customer support in terms of product suite that we bring in to the market, cloud services, and or things like say process improvement, business improvement, all the way to automation. And so that is. I hope that today I can share some of those little things that I've learned along the way, and hopefully we can learn from the audience as well.
So there's quite a number of interesting things we want to talk about. Well, this is post-COVID recovery, and it's amazing why we're still talking about COVID in 2022. I'm sure you agree with me. COVID was a real shaker for us in 2020, 2021, when we thought it was over, but it wasn't. Then we came 2022 and the future was looking a little bit different from what we'd expect. But as part of our conversation today, we're going to just zoom in on, things like budget for small and medium enterprises. Better still, let's call it small and medium businesses. And we're going to talk about, inflation, things that these are things that are, currently happening at the moment. We're going to talk about labor and skills shortage, another important topic. And lastly, we're going to talk about the future of automation for SMBs within this post-recovery phase. And I think let's a drum. I probably put a drum roll somewhere else, but as part of this video. But one thing I wanted to start off with is, do you feel that SMBs are fully recovered from COVID?
That is a great question, and I would say it really, if you look at the world and you have if you can align the time that each region open up for kind of like the phase of COVID mitigation where we actually live with, you will see that it start with England, the UK, and then roll over to Asia. Um, so I would say in terms of small business, small medium business, and the recovery, it will be different across the region and also all across the various industry. But overall, I can say that business are in a different phase now to fight for survival, let alone the growth. Like you mentioned earlier, the inflation, but also things around logistic, the backlog, the logistic, the cost of living, and the cost of energy and fuel. It happens since the last year, 2021, up until now. So as you can see, it just all come down to the very challenging situation for small and medium business in terms of access to capital. How can we get the cash flow in time? Secondly, it is the affordability of the end customer as well as the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I would say it is challenging. It is when we talk about recovery, I think now it is still early day, considering all the social economy aspect around it, and on top of that, skill shortage, like you mentioned. It is like all of a sudden the world look out for talent, but where are they coming from? And with talent, we not just talk about skill, we talk about experience and the ability to hit the ground and running. And that is I think that is the most important part. That hopefully we can leverage the use of the automation as a technology with the available people, the available resource that small medium business already have in place to turn things around.
I love that answer. That was brilliant. I think I'm gonna piggyback on something that you said. You touched on the cash flow. I think that's what everyone within the small and medium businesses are really facing at the moment. There needs to be cash flow. And I wanted to touch on some of the support that I feel that SMBs are getting at this point. And I think for SMBs to really be, they need to stay afloat, they need cash, and that cash sometimes might come from the government. And I'm seeing, like, I think from COVID time, 2020, I started seeing a lot of that support come through in the US, in the UK, and also in Ireland. I saw that come through. And I think for the US, there was during the onset of COVID, there was the Small Business Administration PPP loans. That was something that a lot of small businesses were leveraging. And in Ireland, there was also a scheme that was opened up for COVID. There was a COVID loan scheme as well that was supporting, businesses that had a particular turnover as well. And do you believe that the government support will be crucial for this post-recovery phase?
I believe that definitely the government still played a critical role to drive the economy through this challenging phase, especially for in terms of cash flow for small and medium business. In Australia, for example, during the COVID period, the government, instead of just open up the loan for small medium business, they also open up another initiative. It is called job keepers. So the idea is as long as you have X number of permanent staff full time, then the government will pay that number of staff on your behalf with, like, say, a fixed dollar figure. So it means the small medium business, or even like at the enterprise level, as long as they can prove that they had a loss of up to 30% of their revenue due to COVID lockdown, then they can have access to that capital. But moving out of that stage about around like COVID lockdown, for the local government here, they do have things now with in the form of, like, say, grants or fee reduction or waiver. And I think it's also like say what we call here is a low interest loan from government under kind of like innovation scheme. I think in a way it will stabilize this situation, but definitely it is not enough to access the amount of cash flow unless you can be more efficient, be more productive, or you can find additional revenue stream. And I do believe that with automation, you might have some chance to access those capability and turn it into real outcome, tangible outcome.
And we've touched on, I think at this point, we've touched on cash flow. The next one up we need to touch on is inflation. I think that there's no brainer. Everyone is facing that at the moment. We are, I think as of June 2022, Ireland was close to around 10% inflation rate. So it was a big thing, right? So, and just judging by that, there's also a possibility that there might be a recession. I've seen some economic forecast as well saying there might be, recession at some point. And there's another popular research that just come out as well from HFS, and they've said, 60% of employees in the US, close to 60% actually, in the US and the UK themselves for a recession. What's your take on the balance of inflation and recession happening all at the same time?
Um, I think it is a fact. It is the part that we cannot control, but the only part that we can or business can control was our own kind of like a journey, and hopefully will bring some positive impact to the greater society. Um, like say for someone working in service industry like me, IT services, my client they really they really face the biggest challenge since COVID. It was like you mentioned, inflation. All of a sudden, there was enormous pressure to the employee, and the flow effect was around retention, was around the morality, and also it was also around the ability to acquire new talent. Um, that's just one side of the story. The on the other hand, for our client or consumer in general, I do see that there's still some hope, something that we can look for. For example, in Australia alone, I do see that there's the the term decarbonization no longer something inspirational kind of like goal. It is real now. Uh, if we look at like say car, the younger generation, or even literally anyone who want to go and buy a car, they can have some incentive from the government. So it means like say all of a sudden we have new demand in the space of like say anything with relate to energy or anything with fossil fuel. I think it can open up a lot of opportunity. That is what I can see. Just like yesterday, the other day, I could not believe that there's such a business now with their job is to install EV charger for high-rise apartment. That job never exists 12 months ago. It has never been exist in Australia as far as I understand. It was just out of the need from consumer. They said, okay, I buy a new electric vehicle. Okay. And the extreme was just yesterday, as I watched it from the news, was the guy, he live in the third floor, and he just plug his car literally from the third floor. He just throw the wire down the balcony and plug into his Tesla car. And said, wow. And here's the crazy part of it. Okay, so the resident need access to the charger, and how much per charger? It could be up to 100,000, because you go through all the paperwork, you go through all the assessment. So there was some business they tackled that challenge, and they gave a quote of about 20,000 per charge, and say, oh, it's so that's for me. It is like say one indicator that we do have certain uh, opportunity that we can definitely leverage. Yeah. So back to the topic, when you talk about inflation and recession, I guess it is a fact that sooner or later, I would say, maybe different level impact, but we have to brace for that kind of like a crash landing at some point. But while we wait for that happen, maybe it is also the time to look for something that you can really uh, yeah, you can really tackle on right now.
And well, you touched on different things that technology can do, especially automation. Well, is there any specific example that you would like to share that you think that SMEs or SMBs can leverage at this point?
Yeah, definitely. Um, before I jump into those like example or use case, I think I just bringing certain structure so that everyone can follow easier. Um, for me, when we look at automation, we tend to think about it as just repetitive work, and you have to have a process, and then you bring in a machine to basically mimic it, yeah, repeat it. However, if it would not address the true need from business, I think for business, you can see automation um, through this simple lens. Can it save me money? Can it make me money? Save money, make money. Very simple, and it will drive the implication of how we use the technology and how we make change in the operation to drive that goal. Uh, in terms of save money, one example that you can think of is it was just in particular in Australia for a logistic company. They start bringing in automation. Basically, they automate a number of process for dispatch, like say their truck. So normally it is just a small business in a rural town in Western Australia. This is all about like say mining industry and a little bit of uh, logistic between towns. So what they did was they make use of available tool set that from cloud-based automation platform. I would not, go into the details here just yet, but the idea was very simple. There's a lot in order to dispatch a truck. You need to do a number of check. You need to make sure that you need to match the roster of available driver. You need to make sure that that driver already has certain number of resting day, because normally you can't just rotate people 7 days straight. It is it's not the right things. So so as you say, it is just you need to make sure that you have the right uh, driver, and then check the stage of the truck, and also the time that the delivery require. So it is all manual in the past, and also it was rely a lot on people to make the call to check the update, because planning in logistic out the window. The moment you actually start to moving, it is like a moving piece. So planning and then updated, keep updated, and then communication. So as you see, it is a lot of behind the scene arrangement. So for this company, this small business, they just start the trial with just first with just matching between, like say, access the roster list, and then compare with the like basically all the requirement from HR, and so okay, let's start with the number of driver, and then they're moving down to checklist, and then the end state was around the update. So the new automated process basically save the business all the hustle of two people to basically do all the planning and update and then communication. They do it via email for communication, check any update, a web form for latest information, and yeah, make still they still make use of Excel as any small medium business would do, or even like enterprise as the master sheet. But I would say the effort was worth it, and they realized that as they operate on a daily basis, they need to change, and then they train up people, their own people, to start pick certain part of the tool to start maintain before they can stand it on their own to run it. Yeah, so there's one example for you to see that we actually can save money not just from the hours, maybe sometimes overtime hours to keep all of those operations running, but also the potential loss in terms of productivity when you can't have the driver on the schedule, or where you're short in terms of driver and you have to decline the client or delay. So anytime you have a delay, it's convert to cost. That's one example of cost saving.
I think the next question I have for you is around it's a myth and it's also a curveball for you. So usually people think that automation removes or eradicate jobs, for example, right? There's that myth that when you automate, jobs will be lost. But do you feel, in your opinion, being like SMBs, it would be very critical for SMBs to retain talent just because of the kind of knowledge and how critical that is to their operation as well. Do you feel that automation can keep the employees in their jobs, or will automation take away their employees?
It is a very good question, Tolani. And I remember when we first introduced automation at the enterprise level to customer service group. It was literally at the front and center of any conversation around automation. However, up from that moment, back in 2018, up until now, I can say that things change. So business definitely they're gonna focus on a certain part of operation or certain part of the market. However, in terms of automation replace people, I would say it is not as we think, for one reason, one very simple reason. With automation, or even like now we talk about AI kind of power services, it is running on what we call in development, IT development, we call scope. So it means anything that we do, it is within a boundary. It's very simple. If you don't have a scope, you won't deliver anything. You won't be able to do anything. And as a buyer, they won't pay because it wasn't there for them to meet the expectation. So for human, when we enter the workforce, we learn, we gain the experience, and also we can upskill ourselves, and we can handle tough time, or like say when it is when thing goes wrong, we can solve problem, we can communicate. Whereas machine, in particular automation or AI solution, by design, they are very much fit for purpose, one single purpose. We do not have that. And the reality of the job nowadays, for example, if you see a customer service staff, for example, he or she might actually, if you observe he or she, they will do things, one things to the others in, like say, just in a split second. So it's multitasking. A lot of work would be around update, check, validate, and problem solving, and actually human to human kind of like conversation. So the bot automation or AI they are in the space of assistant and low-level doer or digital worker. Um, so, so I think it is back to the conversation. I can say that from my experience, my observation, I do not see a trade-off between the implementation of those technology that result people to be out of their job. The other example you can think of is it is about, let's say, car industry. Definitely car industry in the past. They, I think it back in the 60, 70, they got a huge shifting from just the assembly line with worker. They move away from just pure labor, human labor, and they adopt robotics. They start with Japan and all the way to Europe and then to the US. So definitely they're going to be changed. However, the robot and human works together side by side. And you also need to see it from the outcome perspective. If we still have the same assembly line with people, I'm sure the car might not be as affordable as we have now in terms of sophistication, in terms of safety. Definitely, there are going to be some change, but I think it is going to be for the better for all of us at the end of the day.
I love that. And I think I want to touch on some other topics. Um, one I want to touch on is budget. So when we think about the budget, I think budget is very critical to any, sort of delivery and all that. But during the onset of COVID, I did see that, large enterprises were trying to get their, automation in place. They were either those that started were ramping up and they wanted more digital workers, and those that haven't even started thought at this point I should have started yesterday. I need to start employing robots and all that within my enterprise. But do you see then, just coming back to the present, right? Do you see SMBs making huge investment in automation to kind of boost productivity, to increase, retention and all that? Are they really making investments, that sort of investment that you would expect?
See, yeah, I'm with you, and I can say that the answer is at the moment the potential is there, but definitely the realization of that potential, it definitely need a higher level of focus and commitment. But I do see that under the new circumstances of inflation and also the looming recession, and also the affordability of whatever service or product we have, definitely small and medium business, definitely they will invest more into this option. However, what does it mean? Where would they get the money from? I think it would be I would not say it is at the expense, but probably the way I see it is uh, in the time of capital that require immediate and tangible result. Probably certain service within small and medium business gonna be put on hold or running on, let's say, at a lower level of scale. Like say anything with sales, promotion, or even marketing. They might be they have to adapt to new situation, and I think it will be the time for automation to step in and basically catch up with the full potential for small medium business. The other thing I have to call out is about the thing I observed was compared to enterprise. It is a good news, by the way, for small business, medium business who are interested in automation. Think about enterprise. They have money, they have people. However, internal politics play the big role. So it means the adoption of automation in general or the change to optimize the operation has to face a lot of red tape, a lot of delay, or a lot of, like, basically you have to please everyone on the table. Whereas I can see that with those small medium business that adopt automation, it was literally, it's like you compare a slow train with a bullet train, because you don't have that high level of red tape governance. You do not need to go through every single department to get a stamp on, okay, this is a good idea, this is a it doesn't mean that the small medium business gonna face a greater risk of, like, say, doing the wrong things, or like data breach. I think it is just about the speed of getting things done, the speed of learning. It's much faster, so you can mitigate risk with the speed by have certain checkpoint. And I think in general, small medium business definitely can play catch up and actually accelerate in no time at all.
I love that answer. And I think this brings me on to something else. I think I read at the beginning of this year. I can't remember now. So I know that Ireland is making some effort towards digital transformation, and particularly there is a plan for SMBs that are still running very manual to kind of go into the digital realm. So there is a drive there, right? And I've also seen that not particularly in Ireland, but in some other countries, they are enforcing things like e-invoices and all that. So it's really forcing SMBs to go digital or fail in that sense. Do you see the government really playing that pivotal role? You know, judging from probably this is the end of Q3, so we're looking at Q4 through to Q1 or Q2 2023. Do you see the government playing a pivotal role for that kind of thing to happen? You know, for SMBs to start making such investment.
Definitely, I can relate to that example with Ireland and the push for digital transformation and things like e-invoice. I can share with you two stories in the region, in Asia Pacific and Australia. First story, during COVID in Singapore, they had something they call circuit breakdown. So literally just a lockdown, but it was the local term. The government at that point, they push hard for digital transformation in the form of what they call, but they already had a plan for what they call digital economy Singapore. But at that time, right at that critical moment, the push for digital transformation for small medium business come to a very, I would say, tangible outcome and realistic approach. Can you believe it? Like, say you have a literally just a street hawker, like just a food seller in, like, say, a market. You just basically, you had a food stall. You rely on foot traffic. You know what? During that circuit breakdown period, the government offer that business to have a presence online. So basically, they cover the cost. So you can have, for the first time, you not just have a website, but you can have a subscription to Grab, the food delivery in Singapore. And all of a sudden, they said that the start was around, let's say, just within about 4 weeks. All of a sudden, they got about 50 to 60,000 small medium business have their presence online, and literally leverage the full infrastructure like deliveries, payment, and everything's all integrated. And it comes with the part around invoice that you mentioned. Just imagine the behind the scene, which just changes dramatic. Before, people would just maybe handle cash and card, various credit card type, and now all of a sudden they have access to a centralized kind of like solution at a very affordable cost. So it was the story happened in Singapore. And now moving back to Australia, where I am, the government, they gave an incentive to business with digital transformation. It's very simple. If you send the invoice to any federal agency, if you are, let's say, a business, if you send it, you have two options. If you go with the e-invoice, you got paid within 5 days. If you go with your way, the traditional, conventional way, PDF, or just take a photo and send, or even an Excel with your tax number, the government will pay you in 20 days. I think it was clever, and they make it so simple. And the tax office literally, naturally, they let that kind of like conversion. So yeah, I think it is like one of my client. They handle about 500,000 invoice a year, and just imagine at the moment it is a mix of manual effort and technology, but with the incentive from using e-invoice, gradually I can see that the work already like half of the effort very soon, in I think within 2 years, yeah, or a year.
That was very insightful. Just judging on how the government played a role in that sort of transformation. That's very interesting. Okay, so we are wrapping up now, and I think there's one burning question I have, and this is in terms of automation. We've talked about automation in terms of what SMBs are doing. And I feel that there are several categories of automation. We have marketing automations, we have, accounting automation tools, softwares that are actually automating the accounting process. There is also the robotic process automation as well. And I feel that some businesses have not even started incorporating any automation technologies. Do you have any advice for how they can start? And in, let's say, in the next 12 months, what's your kind of advice for them?
That's a great question, Tolani, to wrap up the conversation today. Um, like you mentioned earlier, the application of automation now is quite broad. We can be easily overwhelmed by what is available now, or what you can search from the internet, or even here just a couple of other business in the industry who have implemented. However, I think cut to the chase, automation start and end with just one thing. It is all about business operation. It is not about strategy or planning, not at all. It is just about the operation of today, of tomorrow, and how you can make it a better and deliver the better outcome, and also like value added work out of that journey. So if thinking about 12 months as a kind of like time frame, I would say immediately you can try small medium business can, like as I mentioned earlier, lead by example. Have people who actually responsible for the business to try out with the technology. It is now readily available, accessible, and at no cost. That's number one. Number two, bring people in, bring people within the business to join that journey. Just show them, talk to them, and then I think you will see a lot of problem actually can be solved by people with the hands-on experience. It's not just by the technology. So the 12 month, I think we for enterprise normally we'll break it down to, like say, every quarter. But I think for small business, medium business, I think we can even make it faster. So rather than think about quarter, think about in terms of like monthly or every 6 weeks or so. It is like small chunk of time where you try out things, discuss, implement it, and at some point make a decision whether you're gonna truly invest capital and people and human Otherwise, it will be a catch-up game. I'm sure with this time we will have a lot of distraction. So as soon as you want to make a change, try it out. That's my only advice. Try it out. See yourself in 12 months time, by bring people in, and make it like say a short sprint rather than lengthy process. Don't don't bring in any additional red tape. You have enough trouble to solve.
Love that. It's a powerful thing to say to SMEs at this point. And I think we're just going to wrap it there. For every good show, we always have to come to an end. So, Eric, thanks for coming on IA Simplified. It was lovely to have you here, and I hope I can bring you, in the future as well to IA Simplified. And for other people watching or listening to us, there will be a full transcription online on my website, rpajargonbuster.com, in a few days. And remember, as always, RPA Jargon Buster is an IA consultant, and we talk about SMEs, how to empower SMEs and mid-market in terms of delivery and deployment of intelligent automation. And you can visit our website for more information. But stay in touch because short snippets will be available online on LinkedIn, and we'll be going on LinkedIn Live as well. So stay in touch, and until next time, stay informed.